So to clarify, and I think that it started on the 215 and made the way, making its way then to the 60 freeway, like you said, they're westbound past Hooper Valley, now past Ontario here, and you're right, there would be much more traffic perhaps as you get closer and closer to Los Angeles. And look at the speeds there with that traffic, so scary. The driver weaving in and out when there are cars there. So Rick, it's getting more and more dangerous as there are more and more motorists on the road.
And I'm looking up ahead. We have our traffic system in play, and I'm watching it here as we watch this live picture from Skyfox and our extreme nav. On the 60 freeway westbound, there's an indication from the California Highway Patrol that there is a collision at Central Avenue, and I'm seeing some delays on the westbound side of the 60, and that's where it's going to really get tricky in terms of trying to bring this to a safe end. In terms of the volume, obviously this driver is agitated, driving at a high rate of speed, in and out of traffic from the right shoulder onto the center divider there, that center median, that K-wall as we call it, that divides east and westbound sides of the 60 freeway here. Again, covering this live from Skyfox, everybody. If you're just tuning in, check it out. Extreme nav system on board Skyfox, 60 freeway westbound coming out of Ontario towards Los Angeles County, towards the merge with the 71, the Chino Valley Freeway, and then the 57 in through Diamond Bar. And we'll really have to wait and see how this unfolds as that volume really does start to pick up.
Well, if you are just joining us, welcome officially to Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Alex Michelson with Christine Devine. Rick Dicker joining us as well for our coverage now of this high-speed pursuit, which is currently in Riverside County. It's still unclear what the driver of this truck is wanted for. What is clear is he is desperate to get away, driving at very high speeds on the freeway right now, weaving in and out of traffic, and we see the Riverside County Sheriff's deputies on his tail as he makes his way through the freeway, approaching more people as he drives now, moving towards the Los Angeles County area.
And they're the lead agency, Alex, Christine. When we mentioned the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, this started in Riverside County. We're unclear. This could have been a want. They could have been tracking this individual. It could have been a simple traffic violation, running a stoplight, a red light. They lift this individual up. The suspect, unclear if there's anybody else inside the vehicle at this time. We're still trying to ascertain that. In addition to the driver, they lifted the driver up and they did not pull over. That's the bottom line. And then the pursuit is on. And we always ask the question, why? Well, clearly, they don't want to go to jail. There's something with the driver that clearly wants to try to get away, and they feel that they have that opportunity. And we do see that at times. And we do see times where law enforcement agencies pull back. They get conservative because we've seen so many horrific issues, incidents in terms of crashes and innocent people being hurt or even killed because of these pursuits, because these drivers are so agitated and they're driving so recklessly, and they endanger the general public here. And they keep that in mind at this time. 60 freeway westbound, again, starting in Riverside County Sheriff's Department on this. The speeds still upwards north of 70 miles an hour now with our extreme nav system. Deputies from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department in pursuit of this black pickup truck. Tinted windows, unclear if there's anybody else inside that vehicle in addition to the driver. Unclear still what the want is on this, but I will tell you, as we continue to head westbound, now we're at Central Avenue, we're going to be approaching the 71, the Chino Valley Freeway, then we're going to be approaching the 57 through Diamond Bar, Grand Avenue. That area typically clogs up a bit, and we're seeing more of that volume now that things are opening up. It looks like the eastbound side, though, there's the backup on the eastbound side. You can see the bottom of your screen, but he's just ripping 100 miles an hour again. Christine, Ellis.
Well, you know, often at this hour, if you have to be on the freeway, you do want to be going westbound because you're likely to hit a little bit less traffic going westbound. It doesn't look like the driver, though, is impaired or on something. Seems to be obeying, you know, or able to navigate there on the freeway, even though it is really wide open. So, Rick, we've watched this driver go from the 215 to the 60, could have gotten off on other freeways like the 15, coming up on the 60 and the 71 and the 57, but this driver's starting to stay here on the 60 freeway, heading into LA. So you have to wonder where this driver is going.
And the driver will have some options here coming up, because we are approaching the 71, the Chino Valley Freeway, and beyond that, you're going to get the merge with the 57. And I am seeing volume, much heavier volume up ahead, but right now, you could see that this driver, light volume, heading westbound at this time, coming out of Riverside County, very close now to the Riverside, San Bernardino, LA County line. All three counties merged here on the east side. This is sort of the borderline to the Inland Empire. And at this time, and you mentioned it, Christine, that it doesn't appear the driver is impaired. We've seen so many pursuits like this in recent times, in COVID times. We've seen a lot of pursuits where we find out afterwards that the driver, the suspect, is dealing with mental health issues. And they're driving in such a way that it appears that they are completely in control of what's happening. We saw that really tragic situation. Thankfully, it ended okay, with the mother driving her young child in the trunk of her car, or in the back seat of her car, driving at rates of speeds against traffic.
Hand in motion.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. A little waving. Yep, I see that as well. Looks like he's waving a skybox. He's waving a skybox, and this is a situation that they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain if they are able to get away. Clearly, there's certain things, perhaps, that is getting into the mindset of this suspect for not pulling over. But this is still this could end dangerously, tragically at any moment, with speeds at this rate, moving in and out. Hands outside the window again.
Yeah, not clear if that's a cigarette that they're flicking out, or some sort of Kleenex, or what exactly that is. We did see some, it looked like a middle finger being sent towards law enforcement behind. We see the windshield wipers going off a few times. And it was interesting, as he drove in the carpool lane, it made me realize that we don't know if there are any other passengers in this vehicle or not. We don't have any indications that there are, but it's very possible that there are other people in this vehicle. We just don't know yet.
And I just referenced the pursuit that we all covered, Alex. You remember, and we said it both at the same time. There's a child. We didn't know that. We thought it was we just thought it was a sole suspect being pursued, and then we found out, as that pursuit came to the end, that there was this young girl in the back seat, or in the trunk even, of that vehicle. So those are the things now that they look into. They try to find out as much as they can during these pursuits. They run the plates. Okay, if this vehicle's stolen, then they're starting from scratch. They don't know who's driving that car. Maybe this car was stolen. Maybe they know this individual. They know this suspect. As you can see, the window on that driver's side still down at this time. Speeds 90 miles an hour. They try to find as much information as possible, and try even to get in touch with, if law enforcement hasn't already, with family members, friends. And you can see volume starting to pick up just a bit here from Skyfox, 70-plus miles an hour, still in the 60s.
And Rick, as we look closer into him, it appears that this guy is dancing to the music that he has, has his windshield wipers going, throwing stuff out the window, giving the middle finger to law enforcement, taunting them. I mean, we never want to make assumptions, but, we've been joined so many times during these pursuits by Dennis Zine, who's a police specialist, and it's been on the city council. And when you look at the behavior of this suspect, you get the sense that he probably has interacted with law enforcement at some point in his career, and may be on a bit of a joyride right now in the process as he exits the freeway, Rick.
And exiting the freeway, 60 freeway westbound, now in LA County, in the Diamond Bar area. I saw Diamond Bar Boulevard on one of the ramps there, and you can see there the exit at Diamond Bar Boulevard, heading northbound now on Diamond Bar Boulevard, the far eastern side of LA County. So now this is on surface streets, which still dangerous on the freeway, but even more dangerous when you do enter the surface street infrastructure of Southern California. Looks like ripped through a red light there, made a 180, a U-turn.
Is that to
and we'll
perhaps
see if
get back on the freeway?
he or she, it appeared it was a male suspect. Am I correct? Okay, so it looks like a male suspect. Again, we are not going to make assumptions that that's the only individual in the vehicle, because we've been caught on that a lot. But now heading back southbound on Diamond Bar Boulevard, 60 is an east-west freeway here in Southern California that stretches from East Los Angeles all the way into the IE. And it appears that this driver is not going to get back on the 60. There it is. That's the 60 overpass there. And let's see if they choose to try to
the other way.
Back on. There you go. 60 freeway. Now back eastbound on the 60.
Yeah,
opposite
smarter.
direction.
Well, no, they're going to hit that traffic.
This pursuit.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. Because that accident at Central, it was on the. There it is. There's the traffic right there.
Yeah.
That's the backup. The California Highway Patrol reporting an incident at Central Avenue here, causing all that slowing eastbound on the 60. And that typically is, Christine, you mentioned it, the 60 eastbound this time of day is typically heavier because people are coming out of the city of industry, downtown LA, as things reopen and heading to their homes out in the Inland Empire like so many do. So that's why we're seeing that outbound traffic. You know it, if you take those outbound routes, the 60, the 10, or the 210 freeways out towards the Inland Empire, maybe towards Palm Springs this time of year, right shoulder, ripping through the area. Volume is heavy. Big rig traffic too, because that is a highly clogged freeway with big rigs in and out of those large facilities out there in the IE, Amazon plants, and what have you.
Well, we talk about sometimes suspects going to areas that are more familiar to them. So we know this started in the Riverside area on the 215, going then to the 60 westbound, more towards Los Angeles there, ending in Diamond Bar, getting off onto surface streets, really just circling around. Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh,
That driver
man.
gauging traffic, perhaps. Huh?
Yeah, and it's stop and go. It's stop and go here, and you can see that's the backup because of that incident on the eastbound side of the 60, and just a lot of volume. But wow,
And
maneuvering in and
wow,
out.
and this is getting more
the Riverside County
dangerous.
Sheriff's
Wow.
It is.
And Rick, this is also an indication. We do not know the want here, but the fact that they are not, or at least so far have not backed off here, gives you an indication that it's probably a more serious want, because this is the situation where you usually would go into a tracking mode situation because it's dangerous for people on the freeway. But if we do see them really try to stay with this guy, that gives you an indication that maybe it's more serious.
True, but then at the same time, Alex and Christine, some agencies are just, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to get this guy. He's already endangered people. We want to bring this to an end, and they stay on it. It depends on what city you're in, what agency's handling it. But bottom line, right now, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, that's what we understand is what we call the lead agency on this, tracking this pursuit out in Riverside County, well east of this location when we first heard of this, is still following very closely, because you saw that SUV, Alex and Christine, trailing this black pickup truck.
Rick, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We just got some new information from our desk, which confirms, I think, some of what we were just saying. So the want is this is a possible murder suspect. This is not some minor traffic accident or traffic incident. This is the most serious of potential suspects, which is why you see such an aggressiveness by law enforcement trying to get this guy.
And we should note that's CHPLA saying that information, but Riverside County Sheriff's Department has been following this. And now the big concern is this traffic here. That makes it that much more dangerous when this comes to an end for those officers there.
And it's miles of backup. I'm watching it on our real-time traffic system right now. There is an incident on the 60 freeway. It's on the eastbound side at Central Avenue, south of the Ontario International Airport, and you can see stop-and-go traffic here. And it will continue like that for several miles until we reach that point of the incident on the 60. It looks like at least one lane is blocked, perhaps more at this time. That's why you're seeing the stop-and-go traffic with the main flow, the volume of the freeway. And this driver, this suspect, we're hearing now an alleged murder suspect being pursued by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department on the eastbound side of the 60, coming back at LA County. He exited westbound on the 60 freeway at Diamond Bar Boulevard, went a couple blocks to the north, did a 180 back onto the 60 freeway, and then back towards where he may be comfortable with. As you mentioned, Christine, Alex, that these pursuit suspects at times really like to find their neighborhood because they know the ins and outs. They know the alleys, the back ways, and they feel more comfortable in those locations. And perhaps this suspect is doing just that. But the bottom line is you could see how heavy the volume is here on the 60. Maybe exiting now because he sees that backup. here on the 60 freeway. Let's see if he gets off, because that traffic is stopped now because of that incident on the 60 freeway eastbound at Central.
And that driver making his way on the shoulder of the road with all of that traffic. And the driver knows the helicopter's overhead, even has been signaling the helicopter.
And another point, Rick, as we do get off the freeway, and we're going to see where he goes here, photographer Sam Dubin, one of our photographers, saying this, it looks like this could be a Tacoma TRD off-road edition in terms of the vehicle. If that's true, heavy-duty suspension, off-road tires, whatever truck this is a truck that looks like it is built... if it's not built Ford tough, it's built tough, and that gives this driver some advantages too. We're not talking about some weak car here. It gives the driver some other things that he can work with here.
Absolutely, he can go off-road if he wants to. But then the other question we need to ask is how much fuel is in that vehicle, because those big heavy-duty trucks like this burn gas quickly, and how much gas was in that tank, because this pursuit has been going on for some time. Southbound now on Gary Avenue, so he was done with that backup. That 60 freeway was jammed. I saw it, backed up for miles. There wasn't anywhere to go, and the suspect got frustrated with that, as we all do, driving on freeways. And again, this is an alleged murder suspect, a very dangerous situation, and with that you have to essentially believe that individual could be armed, and that's how all agencies deal with pursuits like this. You have to assume that this is a very dangerous suspect. Anybody who wants to evade police, who don't pull over during situations like this, perhaps could have a weapon, whether it be a knife, whether it be a gun at this time. They just have to assume the worst. Southbound on Gary Avenue here, heading away from the 60 freeway here. Very close again, Christine and Alex, to the Los Angeles and Riverside County line.
Well, we are in the Phillips Ranch area here. Some viewers on Facebook were mentioning that they thought it could go into this area. Here we are on these surface streets. You got to wonder how this is going to come to an end. If it's a murder suspect in that vehicle, and that's what CHPLA is saying, they've got to be so careful. It's one of those things now that you're with slower speeds here, you're on these surface streets, you could do a pit maneuver perhaps, you could throw out a spike strip, but the spike strip, the officers have to get really close to that vehicle to do that. So now safety is a big factor here in this game.
And you wonder also, the spike strip, because the tires are presumably stronger than the average vehicle, how much that would impact a potential spike strip, and because this truck is a pretty big truck, how that would impact also a potential pit maneuver as well.
Yeah, and speed is a big factor, and we look at the threshold of about 35 miles an hour. Most agencies, they'll go above that at times if it's a safe way to do it. But this is a big, heavy-duty truck, and trying to do a pit maneuver on a vehicle that weighs a lot more than some of these units trailing them, that creates another problem. But you can see they are trailing this suspect, an alleged murder suspect. That's coming from our assignment desk, still southbound on Gary Avenue, coming away from the 60 freeway, coming up on an intersection here. And you can see it looks like the driver's side window still open. Perhaps, do you see that, Alex and Christine? Still some gestures possibly from that suspect here.
So we're in the Pomona area. There are freeways in the area for the suspect to get back onto. There's the 60, there's the 71, there's the 10 freeway. This driver now just staying on surface streets. You have to wonder what the game plan is here for this driver.
And the driver
and he exited.
Continues to it looks like taunt Rick. It continues to have the music blaring. You can't tell if he's got a mask on as well as he moves around, and he's got a hat on and just weaving through traffic, going through another intersection here, man, I mean, this is a very dangerous situation, Rick.
There's no question, and again, being that this is an alleged murder suspect, so all hands on deck here, and other agencies are definitely aware of this now, especially now that it's entered into residential, commercial areas here. South of, again, this pursuit exited the 60 freeway, so we're now well south of the 60 freeway on Gary Avenue here. Really picking up speeds yet again. Looks like wide open volume there. There's the Metrolink line there, just passed underneath that at speeds of 60 miles an hour. You could see mixed residential, industrial, commercial, and this driver's really agitated. Look at that, picking up speeds, and again, look at the volume. Look at the other volume of traffic and how it's moving. Making a hard right turn there onto Holt Avenue, off of Gary Avenue there, and just doing whatever he can do. It's a male suspect, an alleged murder suspect. Look at this. Wow, this is really dangerous.
Well, we do these pursuits, fairly frequently, and it's not very often that we have a murder suspect on the loose like this. And because of that, you are seeing an increased aggressiveness from law enforcement to try to bring this person into custody, because you don't know. When you hear murder suspect also, it leaves you to credibly wonder, is this person armed, and what kind of mindset are they in? And clearly this person is agitated and clearly does not have a very high opinion of law enforcement based off the gestures that he's making so far.
Nearly missed that car. And that vehicle right there is a deadly weapon. That vehicle is a heavy-duty truck that if he is involved in a collision with somebody, or God forbid he strikes a pedestrian or a bicyclist, it's not going to be good at all. That vehicle in itself is considered a deadly weapon. And when suspects use their cars to ram police cars or to push into people, that is an aggressive move that is considered a deadly type of forcible move. And now on surface streets, now in Hawthorne Place, being even more dangerous now, a very narrow street, unclear if this individual even knows this neighborhood at this time, but doing whatever he can. But those units are still behind him.
So, Rick, also, and Alex, we don't know how much law enforcement knows about this driver.
Right.
And if there might be anybody else inside the truck there. Whoa, stopping?
Stopping.
Sort of, not really.
Stopping a little bit, but then, yeah. He's...
Gauging traffic, perhaps?
Erraticness. Yeah,
something just came out of the car.
That went high.
What was that?
That was a high throw. Unclear of what that was. And... we don't know if it's evidence. We don't know if it's him just gesturing and doing whatever he can to sort of distract the situation.
These moves here, though.
Those answers will come later.
We've seen the driver drive pretty steady there on the freeway, and now these kinds of moves that make you think, might that driver be looking to stop and end this pursuit? Remember, authorities know that it is a murder suspect. I'm wondering how much they know about the driver. Do they know this person's name? Are they in contact by cell phone?
Or or is this driver trying to throw something out so that maybe they'll go look at what that is instead of following him? It's interesting. He's been driving for quite a while as well with his flashers on, Rick, as well. Every once in a while, turns the windshield wipers on. So not, tremendous control potentially of everything that's happening here.
Yeah, and sometimes those wipers will come on because he's flailing. He's like moving around in the front seat there, and he'll bump them or what have you, whether or not it was intentional or not.
Can we tell if there's anybody in that passenger side?
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
That was our best look so far.
Whoa, up on the curb, now into looks like just in an alley. This is a really narrow alley, and this is, again, there could be a kid on his bike out there or somebody walking.
So
this is a situation where...
Right, and let's remind people that are watching us from this neighborhood right now, do not go outside. This is really dangerous. You see a pedestrian right there watching us, this other person potentially hit here. The human nature is, we want to see, this is in my neighborhood, let's see what happens here. This guy is driving, now we see other people that have walked outside, clearly are not listening to that. But this is very dangerous for people that he could hit somebody on this road, especially driving at the speeds that he is.
And the vehicle, like I said, Alex and Christine, this is a heavy-duty truck. That is a deadly weapon in itself. And any vehicle that he strikes...
Wrong way.
Oncoming traffic there.
Oh, my.
Wrong way on Holt Avenue. There was just a collision there. There was just a collision there with that box truck. A head-on crash, and unclear if that box truck, what he was doing, because he went over towards the opposite side.
Right.
So we've already seen one incident.
Could have been startled. Wasn't going, I think, at a high rate of speed.
We don't know. And this driver is just doing whatever he can to evade police through an intersection again. And it's just one of those situations. When is it going to come to a point where running through a red light and he's going to have opposing traffic or he comes upon somebody, as we've seen so many times, and he makes impact with those people because he is doing whatever he can. And if he is indeed, because again, we're hearing an alleged murder suspect, he's doing whatever he can to get away from police. He's gesturing at our helicopter, at officers. You can see the front passenger side, the window's still down as we zoom in with our Extreme Nav system on Skyfox.
And you know, if he has had run-ins with the law in the past, which is often the case for people that are pursuit suspects like this, he's going to take it. It certainly seems like this guy's going to take advantage of his moment right now, and seems to be enjoying it based off of the dancing in the cab and gesturing and throwing stuff out. And it seems like this is my party. I'm going to enjoy this for as long as I can. And the sad part, Rick, is the person that was just driving and ended up in a head-on crash. We don't even know anything about their condition now, just going about their way, who now is, you know, a victim of this.
One thing I'm seeing now, though, as we widened out, I'm not seeing the close trailing of this alleged murder suspect with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. So they may have finally pulled off a bit. That's the 10 freeway at Indian Hill. Indian Hill is a north-south thoroughfare there, a surface street, a boulevard there you could see. Well, and then the 10 freeway is an east-west freeway.
You know, it got a bit more dangerous there, and that could be why they have pulled back. And we are hearing that there is a passenger in the vehicle.
You can see here.
And still wondering how much law enforcement knows about this driver. If they're saying a murder suspect, do they know who this driver is?
They just threw something out the window. On the passenger side, that's confirmation. Looks like that there is a passenger there. So you wonder who that passenger is, and are they armed, and what their connection is to this person.
So that adds, yeah, exactly. That adds more, more details to what we're covering here. And I'll tell you what, that it appears, we may widen out again, as now we're on Laverne Avenue here. I'm trying to track this with my mapping system here as well, but staying on surface streets very close to the 10 freeway. The 60 and 10 parallel each other, and the majority of this pursuit on the freeways was on the 60 freeway coming out of the Inland Empire, out of Riverside County on the westbound side, exiting at Diamond Bar Boulevard, doing essentially a 180, and then getting back on the eastbound side of the 60, and then exiting the 60 freeway a couple miles up because of that big backup, because of that problem on the 60 freeway eastbound at Central Avenue. On San Antonio Avenue, this is very close. Against traffic again. This is just, and I'm not seeing, again, Alex, Christina, I'm not seeing any units real close by at this point. It looks like they may have gone into what we call tracking mode.
You have to wonder about that passenger inside that vehicle now. Is that a willing participant? Is that a victim, perhaps? Is that somebody who's there along for the ride?
And the other thing we don't know, Christine, because those back windows are tinted, is there anybody in the back of this truck, too? We haven't had any indication that there is, but Rick, as we saw recently, when that child popped out of a car that we had no idea was back there, we don't know if there are more people there or what, you know, led to them thinking that this person is a murder suspect, you know, what information there is about that.
So Town Avenue, exactly, and of course, they have looked into as much as they can to find out. They may know a lot more than we do. Who's so close. This is Town Avenue. Just for you folks who aren't familiar with this area, this is in the Pomona area. Town Avenue is a north-south street here that runs between the 10 and the 60 freeway, heading northbound on town. That would take this pursuit up towards the 210 or the Foothill Freeway. We have those three major thoroughfares: the 210 farthest north, the 10 slightly south of there, and then the 60, all of which run east and west, coming out of the Inland Empire into Los Angeles County. This pursuit now on Town Avenue, and it does say northbound on our Extreme Nav system, meaning that this pursuit would take its way up towards the 210 freeway. It's amazing that, not amazing, but surprising that this individual who's driving so erratically has not made impact with anybody yet.
So as we watch this pursuit, we picked this up here in Fox 11 around 5:50. We're now coming up here close to 6:30. It's interesting to note that we're kind of getting out of the rush hour time slot, yet the suspect here is staying on the surface streets and not getting back on the freeway. The bulk of the pursuit was on the freeway. Rick, so the suspect has a couple of different options on freeways in this area. There's the 10, there's the 60, there's the 57, but staying here on these surface streets.
And making a left turn, which would make it westbound here on Briarcroft Road, which is a very small residential area here through Pomona. So he was heading northbound on Town, making a left. As I had indicated, you're right, Christine, that you have Town Avenue, which runs north-south, and it runs from the 60 up to the 10, up to the 210 freeway. So there were options, but now this pursuit suspect, this alleged murder suspect, is now in a residential area, mixed commercial, industrial area here, and choosing to stay off the freeway at this time. Once he encountered that backup, that big backup, as I saw in our traffic system, our real-time traffic system, and we have you covered there with traffic and weather and what have you, and covering this so that you're aware of what's happening. But Alex, as you said, please, if you live in this area of Pomona, the border with LA County and now San Bernardino County, please stay inside. Don't come out. Don't try to record anything because you have no idea what could happen. This driver is so erratic. He's an alleged murder suspect. He could be armed. He's driving at a high rate of speed. We've seen a lot of near hits, not near misses, but near hits. We saw a box truck collide head-on with another vehicle, possibly because that they were startled by what was happening here. And you can see this is just a situation that could really end in a bad way. And again, what I'm not seeing, as I toss back to you, Alex and Christine, I'm not seeing any units. I'm not seeing those SUVs from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, at least as we widened out. So they could have backed off because of the erratic nature of this driver, and they're following him just from the air, from the helicopter.
It is now 6:30. We are staying on with extra coverage now, breaking news coverage, preempting for now our friend Harvey Levin and TMZ. Christine, as we watch this murder suspect being chased through the streets of Southern California.
What I haven't really noticed, Alex, are people on the sidewalks too much or in the crosswalks. We've been lucky, given that this hour could be a time where people are out perhaps, walking to get a bite to eat or walking with their dog. We haven't seen a lot of that. It's been a dangerous pursuit with the driver kind of weaving in and out of traffic on the freeway and now kind of maneuvering through these surface streets, kind of staying in the Pomona area. It started in a Riverside area, so not where it originally started. But as we watch this here, staying on these surface streets, despite the options to get back on the freeways, which will be much more open at this hour.
Just getting some new information from our assignment desk. So the initial, we've been talking about this as a possible murder suspect, also wanted for assault on a sheriff's deputy. Again, Riverside County Sheriff's deputy. Not clear if that was, they were trying to apprehend this person, potentially for murder, and then the assault happened. Still need more details there as we now go into a residential neighborhood, driving through an alley here. But now,
narrow alley. Look at that.
Those are two things, Rick. If you want to say two things that will get law enforcement riled up and get the attention of law enforcement, it is one, to be a murder suspect, and two, to then try to attack a sheriff's deputy as well.
Absolutely. So we're learning more about this. So is that in addition to the murder suspect, the murder one?
We believe it is in addition to. We do not have any reports, at least yet, thankfully, of the death of a law enforcement officer, but we're still trying to get details on everything that's happening here.
And that assault may have occurred during the early stages of this pursuit. That typically happens. We see that where once a suspect knows that he or she is being tracked and then chased by law enforcement, they start driving erratically, and perhaps he did bump a Riverside County Sheriff's deputy. We don't know that yet. We don't know the details on that, but that does happen at times. Or maybe it was a different situation that happened a day or more ago. Those are questions that will be answered. But the bottom line, this suspect, this an alleged murder suspect, and a suspect who's wanted for assault on a sheriff's deputy, is ripping through a residential area in very narrow alleys where kids could be playing, people could be walking their dogs. It's sunset, it's evening, it's springtime, the temperatures are beautiful out there right now, no strong winds, people out enjoying Southern California, and they're at risk, and there you go right there. Yeah, just a quick left turn there, a hard left turn, and that vehicle was coming upon that suspect in that black pickup truck.
Okay. And there's a
unit.
law enforcement vehicle right there. It looked like he made a turn, and it's going to be on his tail. We'll see if he's able to catch up with him here. So now it looks like law enforcement.
Or if the driver just came upon him, because he may not
White
be
and Bonita, again, still in the Pomona area. And those are the turns right there that are so dangerous. Coming out of an alley, a narrow alley, and really not looking. Right. You could see that law enforcement helicopter that just zipped by in front of our Skyfox camera there. Our extreme nav system, we always have you covered there. You can see the speed, the speedometer there in the upper right corner, indicating how fast that suspect is trying to evade the law enforcement agencies in pursuit. They're ripping through that stoplight, and again, they can technically write this suspect up for every single traffic violation. Doing loops, 180s, it's even hard for us, even with our extreme nav, to keep track of the exact location. But this is a really dangerous situation. And again, not a good situation to try that pursuit intervention technique in terms of that pit maneuver, trying to spin that vehicle out. It's a heavy-duty vehicle, and there's a lot going on likely in this residential area.
And Rick, to just get some clarifying information from what I said before, because we are getting more information from law enforcement now. So this person is a murder suspect. Law enforcement, Riverside County sheriffs in the neighborhood surveilling the murder suspect. At that point, during the surveillance of the murder suspect, a deputy is struck. Not clear if that is with a vehicle or some other sort of interaction. At that moment, the pursuit began, and that is what we are still looking at now at 6:36 on this evening. The pursuit of this murder suspect, who also was violent with law enforcement as well.
And very interesting how brazen the suspect is. It appears that window, that driver's side window, if I'm not mistaken, Alex and Christine, has been rolled down pretty much the entire duration of this pursuit. And the bottom line is that they're running because if indeed this male suspect driving the vehicle or the passenger, we're not sure, is the murder suspect, they're going to do whatever they can. Why do they run? Because they want to get out of the way of police and try just by that slim chance to get away into a gas station.
Get gas.
Does this come to an end right here?
Is
that a drive-through?
Or is he using this to turn?
I couldn't tell if that was a drive-through or a gas station, but just use that as a little cut-through. Yeah. And now on Gary Avenue, staying in the same area, though, I will say, knowing my through that intersection there, that's where you got to hold your breath because you don't know what's going to happen. The bottom line is...
Look at the speeds here too, Rick.
In the upper right. Yeah. Staying in the same area now, though, I will say that. It seems like the suspect now is doing loops in the same Pomona area. The Pomona Fairgrounds there, near where the 60, the 10, the 57 all merge, the 10 to the north, the 60 to the south. The 210 is the farthest east-west freeway to the north, the foothill. Route 66, as we all know it here in Southern California. And off to the right there, slowing down. So
thankfully,
close.
no collision there.
Yeah.
And we know
that was within inches.
Can be a collision. We do have some video from a little earlier. If you're just joining us, usually watching TMZ at this time, we want to show you. So on the bottom of your screen, this was from a little earlier. You see the driver leading right there to a crash between two other vehicles, not involving the driver itself, but because the driver was so brazen, there was a crash.
Well, I think kind of we're saying they might have bumped bumpers, not so much high-speed kind of crash if they were going at full speed, but kind of tapping bumpers. But you do have to wonder why that one vehicle did bump into the, like a head-on type of crash there, because I'm thinking perhaps they were.
Look at that. Going against traffic there. Coming down Town Avenue, which is a very busy thoroughfare there. 50 miles an hour. Now back over to the right. Thankfully staying in his lane, so to speak, but still. And they're watching this. Law enforcement agencies from all over that area are watching this, and they're at a command post now in through that inner area where, because they're seeing the backup, because there's a light here, and this is a situation he's going to rip through that light, make a hard right turn there onto Arrow Highway, still staying in the same area. How are they going to bring this to an end? Because every second that this pursuit continues, with the erratic nature, Christine and Alex, of this suspect, this alleged murder suspect, this suspect who allegedly made impact with a sheriff's deputy from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, how long are they going to let this go on?
Well, Rick, I'm wondering now if law enforcement does indeed know who this driver is. If they were doing surveillance on a murder suspect, the driver then took off, and that's where you have the assault on a deputy. I'm wondering if
those units are right behind
person lives and who they are.
It seems like it seems like they have more intel on the suspect than we do, and that they were from what you and Alex reported, Christine, that you both heard that they were tracking. They knew about this suspect. They were essentially going to try to perhaps serve a warrant or arrest that suspect, and in that particular situation, you can see all those units there.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity for that driver to get away.
So I'm looking at a comment here on our Facebook page. Somebody's saying that police should do more to not let him get away. The question is, if this is a murder suspect, are they armed with a weapon? And then do you do a pit maneuver? Do you do a spike strip? I mean, Rick, has the driver been going in a similar area where they know how to predict where to throw out a spike strip?
No.
And you can see, because that helicopter down below there that you just saw on the lower portion of our screen there, that's a law enforcement helicopter, and it appeared that that was a Riverside County air unit there tracking this. We're up in Skyfox above those law enforcement helicopters, which are down in the dirt, as we call it, from all my years up in Skyfox, 400 or 500 feet AGL. We're up at about 1,000 feet or higher watching this. And that's the question we just don't know the answer to, Christine and Alex, in terms of they're coordinating. They're talking to the air unit. They're talking to these units on the ground. This is a mutual aid situation. Now on Laverne Avenue, staying in the same general area, still driving very dangerously, very erratically. As I keep saying, every second this pursuit goes on, there is the opportunity for somebody, some innocent person, a pedestrian, a bicyclist. That's a great shot there. You can see that against traffic there to be heard. And you can see, what is this guy? Oh no, that's a unit. It appeared first that it was an unmarked unit. But they're trailing this suspect. They're not giving up at all. They're not giving up at all. They're staying on this suspect. They want to bring him into custody. Again, an alleged murder suspect and an individual who we're just hearing now that may have had some sort of incident with a sheriff's deputy as well, which adds to the energy here, trying to bring this suspect into custody, an alleged murder suspect. The bottom line is that this suspect was lit up at some point, didn't pull over, and the pursuit was on. And it's gone on from the Inland Empire into LA County, back towards the IE, on the 60 freeway, first westbound coming out of Riverside County into LA County, exiting in Diamond Bar in Los Angeles County, doing a quick 180 back onto the 60 freeway eastbound. He encountered a huge backup on the 60 because there was a problem at Central Avenue, which I was tracking with the California Highway Patrol. And then now on surface streets in that same general area, very close to now the San Bernardino and Los Angeles County line. And it's unclear if this suspect even knows this area at all. And we see these pursuits, Alex and Christine, and because sometimes they make a left turn into an alley or in a cul-de-sac, and there's nowhere to go.
So now we're in a parking lot, and now we're getting back onto. So now there's that heavy-duty law enforcement vehicle. Almost tried to hit him.
These units are all over. They are all, and one benefit to law enforcement now is that because the suspect is choosing to stay against traffic through the rail system there, that's the Metrolink rails that run east and west coming out of the IE into LA County there. What they're able to do now, because the suspect is choosing to stay in a general vicinity in this area off the
traffic, wrong way and traffic.
Wow. There's units all over. There's units to the wow.
You almost want to look away because you don't want to see how this could end.
Okay, so this is getting more and more dangerous. We're now high stakes, going the wrong way against traffic at 60 miles an hour. This desperate murder suspect who also apparently attacked a sheriff's deputy on the loose, and you feel for all of the folks right now who do not know what is coming in their direction as this truck is driving.
Northbound in southbound lanes, Alex and Christine, on Town Avenue, which is a highly trafficked area. You can see that white sedan pulling over to the right.
Okay.
These drivers don't know they're coming up southbound.
There we go.
Now
All right, well, at least we avoided a collision there.
Boulevard.
Yeah, which is good news that we avoided a collision there. I mean, the thing that also, you know, if and when there is a end to this pursuit, the apprehension of these suspects is also a very dangerous situation, because we know that there's at least 2 people in that truck. We don't know if there are more. We know at least one of them is wanted for murder. We know that at least one of them assaulted an officer. Now this guy, again, throwing his hand out the window, taunting the law enforcement behind him as he drives through traffic. Now up onto the sidewalk.
Up on the sidewalk.
Oh.
On the sidewalk, 60 miles an hour. That's Foothill Boulevard.
Ooh.
That's a 60.
You wonder about that car
That is Route 66. Route 66 that parallels the 210 freeway there, but now made a right turn back onto Gary Avenue, again staying in the same general vicinity. And it's unclear if that's just by chance or perhaps this suspect knows this area, although we heard that this started well east of this location. 95, 80 miles an hour on Gary Avenue here. This is, again, every second, every minute, Alex and Christine, I'm holding my breath here, because I've seen so many of these situations, and where just an innocent person is either struck, a pedestrian, a bicyclist. Okay, now something's stopping here.
The way law enforcement
did a 180.
Turned around.
Did a 180. Back now south on Gary Avenue. So northbound on Gary Avenue, now southbound on Gary Avenue. Speed 75, 80 miles an hour. This isn't a freeway, folks. This is a major thoroughfare here on Gary Avenue, and you know, we talk about, Alex and Christine, have we ever seen anything like this? Is this the most insane pursuit that we've seen? No, it's not. We've seen this situation play out so many times,
right? And
I believe that there has been an uptick during COVID times as well with these pursuits, and all we can do is hope and pray that this ends where nobody who's an innocent person out there, whether they be in a vehicle, they're walking, they're running, they're riding their bike, are not injured.
Well, and it's interesting, Rick, the way you phrase that, because, you know, when we first joined this pursuit about an hour ago, a little more than an hour ago, that, you know, it was like, okay, this guy is just driving through traffic. What is this? And as we've been together, watching this together with our viewers, we learn that he's wanted for murder, that he's wanted for assaults on a deputy, that he is clearly driving erratically, that he's willing to go against traffic, that he has thrown the middle finger at law enforcement out the window, thrown evidence out the window, and all of these things that have made what started as a pretty benign pursuit where we didn't even know what he was wanted for into a really dangerous situation, and one of the more dangerous pursuits we've seen in some time, Rick. And now we see pedestrians out there.
Exactly. Again, taking pictures, video. Please stay inside safely, because you have no idea. We already saw this driver went up on the curb for a short time, and you're putting yourself in danger. If you have your kids out there, you're going to put them in danger. Bottom line, please stay inside. Don't try to be a hero. You don't need to record it. You can watch it right here from Skybox. We've got great pictures. We have our extreme nav system tracking exactly where, geographically, here in Southern California, where this pursuit is. All right, now it looks like this is right up against the tracks. Those are Metrolink tracks, which run east-west here, still staying in the same general vicinity here. And there's more people. There you go.
Yeah,
recording
people
right on
there.
the corner. The one thing, very quickly, Alex and Christine, the one thing that is good about the situation is that this alleged murder suspect, and a suspect who may have had an incident with a sheriff deputy, that they're staying in the same neighborhood, so officers all over are holding traffic and trying to prevent anybody from getting hurt. And this driver now slowing down.
Yeah, this driver coming to a crawl here after that intersection there where there were people there on the sidewalk. Now, we've talked about this driver staying in the same vicinity for some time now. We're talking about the Pomona area here, being on Gary, being on Town Avenue. You have to wonder, did that driver know those people on the corner? They seem to be reacting to the driver or not, but that driver did come to a slow there, and more people there on the street reacting, perhaps.
Getting closer. I mean, are they going to try? The speeds are down. The speeds are down under 35 miles an hour. That's typically the threshold, but this is a heavy-duty truck. To spin that vehicle out is not an easy task, but this is the closest that I've seen this unit. And it's a K-9 unit there, and it's unclear if that's still the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. They are the lead agency. That's the agency that we heard that there was some sort of confrontation, some sort of incident where this alleged murder suspect had some type of situation with a deputy from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department.
Well,
it's slowing down a little bit.
Not only that, remember, they were doing surveillance on a murder suspect when that happened with the deputy there, that assault on the deputy there. So the question now is, who is that driver and who is that passenger in the vehicle that's been there the whole time during this pursuit that's gotten really dangerous at times?
And there hasn't, I keep watching because sometimes we have seen situations where there are passengers in these pursuits, and whenever there's an opportunity, say the pursuit slows down, the vehicle that's being pursued slows down, that other individual in a passenger side seat in the front there or in the back bail. They jump out because they don't want anything to do with this. We haven't seen that yet, but there hasn't been a lot of opportunities. We're hearing unconfirmed reports, though, that other individual inside this vehicle is a female. Not confirmed, but it's possible that it's a female there, and it's unclear the relationship between the driver, the alleged murder suspect, and that individual that could very well be a female. Slower speeds now back on Gary Avenue, staying in their lane, so to speak, in terms of the neighborhood, and it's unclear. They could be talking to family, to friends, to law enforcement. They could have called 911 and said, "Hey, this is the situation. We've heard that before as well. How do we end this? What do we do?" But definitely seeing a change in the tone of the driver. Would you agree?
Yeah, you wonder if something has happened to the vehicle, if the car is running out of gas, or what would lead to this dramatic slowdown at this point. And this is the kind of speed, Rick, where you would potentially see a pit maneuver.
Yeah, but again, that SUV, that law enforcement SUV, just 20, 30 feet behind this big heavy-duty pickup truck, that's a hard task, but they can do it. We've seen it before. You can see the driver's side window still rolled down there. Again, perhaps a female inside the front of that vehicle as well, but definitely a change in the tone. Looks like he threw something out again outside the window there, but still staying on Gary Avenue. That was the 10 freeway, by the way, that crossed over Gary Avenue. Gary is, again, a north-south street, and they are staying, this suspect, this alleged murder suspect that has led deputies from Riverside County, from other law enforcement agencies, on a long-term, high-speed, dangerous pursuit, coming out of perhaps Harupa Valley, westbound on the 60 freeway, through Moreno Valley, towards the Riverside interchange, into LA County, towards the 57, Diamond Bar Boulevard, exiting there, making a 180, getting back eastbound on the 60, huge backup because of a bad accident at Central Avenue that had at least one lane blocked. He exited the freeway and now pretty much staying on surface streets in this area, now making a left turn onto Holt Avenue from Gary.
It's interesting to think of why the driver is staying in the Pomona area. Remember, this started in Riverside around the 215 with Riverside County Sheriff's Department. And now, since the driver has gotten off on surface streets, largely staying in this Pomona area. But Rick, can you tell, is the driver going like in circles where they could possibly put out a spike strip?
That's a great question, and I will tell you, as I had mentioned just a short time ago, this gives law enforcement an upper hand that the suspect is kind of following the trend of staying in the same general area. That means
out the window.
Looks like something else is just thrown out of the vehicle there again, some white object, that they're going to have more law enforcement officers, whether it be from local municipalities, whether it be more from the Sheriff's Department, from Riverside County, from LA County, because we're in an area right now, as we've got a little bit of a hiccup there, back on it on Skyfox there, that they are able to essentially encompass this whole area, hold intersections. that's busy to hold people back, knowing that, you know what, this pursuit might be ripping through this busy intersection, and this driver has shown a tendency to run red lights at a very high rate of speed, endangering the public, so they can set up at those intersections, hold them back. They can set up a spike strip, as you said. They can do whatever they can to try to bring this to a safe ending. And now we're in a parking lot here. We'll see how this plays out. Unclear if this driver, this alleged murder suspect, has any plan at all, except trying to evade police.
Yeah, but again, staying in his Pomona area, which is so interesting, you do have to wonder how much gas is in that vehicle and how long they can go.
Okay,
passing.
whoa, look at that. The
Right
law
against,
enforcement
look,
right there.
so
Look at all the swarm
that's
of
a
law
command
enforcement
post.
vehicles
I mean, look
there.
at how many officers are there. Look at how many officers are there. Like I said, they're just setting up shop in this area because the suspect isn't trying to make his way north, well away from this area, east or west, now picking up speed again, just as he thought that perhaps he was going to back off a little bit.
Wow.
And the tone of this pursuit changed. He said, forget it, because he saw all those units. He said, I'm out of here. I'm going to try to do whatever I can because I can. The longer that this pursuit goes on, the longer I'm not in custody. That's the mindset. And you can see all those people on the corner there. It looks like a mini market of some sort, making a
look at
hard
the
right
passenger
turn.
side.
Now into a narrow
the passenger
alley.
side there. Rick, we finally got an inside look there of that passenger in a red shirt. Again, we don't know if that person is a willing participant in this entire pursuit. There's been no attempts to bail or to let the passenger out. We've been covering this for more than an hour now.
They have their window down as well. We got one unconfirmed report. It could be a female. That has not been confirmed at this time. But now just ripping through these residential areas. And again, it's a beautiful evening here in Southern California. We're coming up on 25 minutes or so until sunset. Temperatures are pleasant. There isn't any high winds. People perhaps out after a day at work or what have you, enjoying a spring break week. And thankfully, we haven't yet seen anything tragic happen. But with each second, with each minute that goes on, the threat of that is definitely in the air. Now on San Antonio Avenue, back on a busier street here. But as you mentioned, Christine and Alex, still staying in the same general area. Now
Where are
we're in a
these
parking lot.
people? Going into a parking lot here. It looks like a grocery store parking lot
A mini
and a
mall,
strip mall.
like, type,
People are there, people out for the night with their kids, people park in their vehicles, and then all of a sudden, this comes into their neighborhood.
In this parking lot here.
In circles in the parking lot.
Watch
out.
Across.
Oh my God. And you feel these people that are in the middle of all this.
This is awful. This is awful. And that's the other thing where I say it gives law enforcement the upper hand because now they're staging in this area. We saw almost like a little mini command post at that last intersection. But what it also causes is for more and more people to come out. Hey, that's right down the street. Let's go out. Let's check it out. Let's video this. Not safe to do. Please. Make impact with the big
never
rig. This
seen
was just
a pursuit end like this.
It was just. It
No.
was
Will it
waiting to
end?
happen.
Will it
Now
keep
you can have
trying to
officers.
drive?
That's a canine. That's a canine unit right now, and that canine is going to go in and get that driver if there's that opportunity. Big Rig's pulling up. Big Rig doesn't know. That driver doesn't know what's going on. Guns drawn there. It looks like the airbags have been deployed. It looks like the passenger side, somebody could be gesturing out there. The windshield wipers are on. That could just be a bump or what have you. But it was a significant, severe enough impact with that big rig. And if this vehicle, if this pickup truck, Alex and Christine, had an impact with anybody,
The big rigs, get me out of here.
A big rig is the perfect vehicle because other vehicles, those smaller sedans, would have been taken out. That big rig took that crash, and now we're surrounding the vehicle, and this is where it gets ultra dangerous. And it's unclear if the driver of that big rig even knows. Wait, what is this? Just was this guy just coming along and hit me? Does he know? Probably not.
He sees the police.
That driver got out of that truck very quickly because you can see that many law enforcement behind this guy. You can tell this is a serious thing. I mean, as we pull out a little bit, you can see just the number of different law enforcement that is there, including that police with the canine there. And now we'll see if this turns into a standoff situation. We also don't know if the driver or the suspect are injured at all by the fact. That was a pretty hard collision.
The passenger there. the passenger clearly, and this is a big, heavy-duty pickup truck. So if this pickup truck was going to collide with anything or anybody, this is the right vehicle too, because it appears that the driver of that big rig, thankfully, was okay, was able to get out of the cab, and now is in safety. It looks like the passenger there in a red shirt, possibly a female, has his or her hands out at this time. Airbags were deployed. You can see the front end damage to that truck.
The drivers, both of them are waving their arms, Rick. The passenger gesturing there.
As well.
You saw the driver there gesturing. You have to wonder, hang on, Rick, hang on. You have to wonder if they're going to try to surrender here, but are they trapped in the vehicle? Are they trying to signal to law enforcement that they're willing to give up? But this is a dangerous situation, because remember, this is a murder suspect who led police on this very dangerous pursuit with his crash here into this big rig.
And that vehicle was xylophoned. You could see that pickup truck, and you're right. Those doors, whether it be the driver's side or the passenger side, may not work at this time. But the bottom line is the officers are communicating with both the driver and the suspect there in the passenger side, and you can see, at least on the passenger side, hands are out. So doing what he or she is told. Unclear if it is a female, but clearly showing, we need to see your hands. We're gonna give you strict commands here. There's a protocol here so that each of you can give yourself up, and we'll take you into custody, and we'll end this thing altogether without anybody else being hurt.
Rick, thank you. It is now 7 o'clock. This is the time of the evening where we say welcome to the Fox 11 News special report tonight. A bit of a different tone as we look at the end of this extraordinary pursuit of a murder suspect. I'm Alex Michelson, along with Rick Dickert. Also, Marla Tejas now joining our coverage. Christine Devine will be back with us a little bit later on tonight at 10 after doing a great job with our coverage here. And Rick, what we have been just witness for people that may be just tuning into us at 7 o'clock now, this is a murder suspect and a passenger, we presume, that have now led officers in a multi-hour-long pursuit. It ended with a crash into the only vehicle that we can think of that might be bigger and stronger than that truck, which is this big rig. Probably the only vehicle that could have caused this much damage to it, that drove right into the big wig rig. And this is the real critical part, because you can see the driver there in a black shirt showing his hands at this time, trying to get outside the vehicle, but it clearly it looks as if that door was impacted as well because of that hard front-end collision with the big rig there. But it appears that the driver is giving up at this time, trying to exit the vehicle. But again, it's unclear that if he can get out, he should be getting out with his hands up. So, and he's not showing his hands as clearly as he should be, as is the individual in the red shirt on the passenger side. Now he is. Okay, now he's getting out, and he's laying out. Looks like he's in red shorts there, crawling away from the vehicle, and looks like he may be injured. And it would be that left leg, because look at all that hard impact that was made on the left side of the vehicle there. So he's looking back, perhaps, at his passenger, possibly a female at this time. There's watching this from the air, from the ground, giving him strict orders to lay out with his hands up, but he's still not doing exactly what he should be. His hands should be completely off to the left and right, and that's not happening at this time. But there we go. So hands in visible sight, and Rick, it seems like the passenger can't exit the vehicle. Rick, we want to bring Marla Tejas into our coverage now. And Marla, what an extraordinary few hours it's been here.
Yeah, this pursuit getting underway more than 90 minutes ago. There are reports that this started potentially in San Diego County before making their way to Riverside County and then eventually LA County. So across 3 counties perhaps, and here we are. This violent crash involving this truck and this big rig. As soon as that impact happened, you saw those airbags deployed. Yes. So the suspect, Rick, crawling away. Is this according to officers' orders?
Towards
guns drawn.
It's kind of rare. I haven't seen this before. There's a dog. There's a canine unit there. They're going to take this guy into custody regardless. I mean, he's outmanned, so he's going to be in custody. They're dragging him now. And those are sheriff's deputies. And you just mentioned, Marla, and I'm following this on social media as well, so that we get reports, firsthand reports, and we appreciate you on Facebook, on Twitter, that one of our followers said that they saw this starting in the Temecula area at Temecula Parkway at 4:30. So this has been going on for some time. Now we're going to see, it appears that the passenger isn't able to exit the vehicle on his or her own will at this time, but clearly putting their hands up. Again, we got word, unconfirmed reports that is a female.
Certainly looks to be the case, and you wonder what kind of injuries this person has, and what this person's connection to all of this is. Again, this started as a murder suspect that law enforcement was surveilling, and then when they caught up with this murder suspect, that murder suspect apparently struck a law enforcement officer in some way, which is why they're not taking any chances. Those are the two things that are about as serious as it gets when it comes to law enforcement. And now the question is this female? We presume that the female is not the murder suspect. We don't know that. I mean, she could be the murder suspect and he's just the driver. But we don't know her relationship to this driver, and we don't know how badly she may be injured because of the impact of that collision. Hopefully we can get that video re-queued soon where we can watch that collision. Okay, now here she comes.
Here she comes. So she's out. She's doing exactly what she's being told over a bullhorn. Just clear instructions, hands out. We want to see you. Lay out on the roadway there, and again, she could be an innocent bystander.
Walking in high heels backwards. Look at that.
Absolutely. So she doesn't appear to be too badly injured. The driver, though, it appeared that his right leg was badly injured, and that was the brunt of the impact of that truck hitting that side of the big rig there. And we called it. If it was any vehicle that truck could have struck, it's a big rig that took it down, because it could have been catastrophic otherwise. Female suspect now being taken into custody, being handcuffed, being detained. We'll find out more about her, the driver, the alleged murder suspect, in custody as well. So this is going to come to a conclusion here.
Rick, we know the old joke about Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, except backwards in high heels. I'm not used to seeing the end of one of these with a walk backwards in high heels like that. Was quite something to see as well. I mean, the good news, Rick, considering how unbelievably reckless this driver was going through so many different lanes of traffic at high speeds the wrong way, the fact that we did not see, it appears to be, any sort of crash that badly injured somebody or killed somebody, which could have very easily happened, is a bit of good news. And in terms of a collision to end this thing, this seems to be kind of a right place, right time to end this. And now they're going to check and make sure nobody else is in that vehicle.
Yep. And until we see the code 4, the 4 fingers, as we say, meaning all clear, because those back windows there, that's you got back seats in that cab as well, and you could see the airbags were deployed, so that was a serious hit there. And thankfully, it did not appear that the big rig driver in the cab was seriously injured. The impact happened on the passenger side of that cab there. And once they clear that, the 4 fingers, the car is clear, 2 suspects in custody. One, the driver, the male driver, an alleged murder suspect, and unclear the relation and what the situation is with the female driver in the front.
Yeah, and for the location, if you're just joining us, this all came to a crashing end in Pomona. This intersection is North San Antonio Avenue and East Holt Avenue in Pomona. So you have to imagine that obviously you're going to want to avoid this area, and traffic is going to be backed up at this particular location in Pomona. But you mentioned the big rig driver. We saw him exit the big rig soon after the crash, and he looked to be okay, which is, of course, good news. There were also reports, Rick and Alex, that the suspect was armed. That wouldn't be a big surprise, given that this is an alleged murder suspect who's also now wanted for an assault on a law enforcement officer. We don't know the exact details on how that went down, but nonetheless, there are so many more charges that these suspects are facing tonight.
Yeah, and our Bill Malusian is actually was trailing this pursuit suspect. Is he ready now? Okay, so now Bill Malusian has established. Bill, not sure if you can hear us. It looks like that female suspect is right behind you. Talk to us about what you are seeing in front of you.
Alex, that's correct. That is the female suspect. We're not sure where the male suspect is right now. Just got here literally a couple of minutes ago. We're at the intersection of San Antonio and Holt, and yes, that is the female suspect. Heard you guys talking about the red clothing that you could see from Skyfox as this pursuit was happening, but just to the left of where this woman is being taken into custody, you see that big rig truck where the suspect crashed into, and where this kind of came to a close here in the center divider in the middle of this intersection. Massive law enforcement response here, guys. I mean, probably at least 50 police vehicles from what we can see just in this area. Also, a massive amount of looky-loos out here. Easily 100 to 200 people in all directions around here. Live streaming this, taking phones, taking videos, waving at the helicopters. A very LA ending to this pursuit, if you will. Glad to see, glad to hear that it doesn't appear any innocent people were injured at the end of this crash. I only caught the end of it when he ran into that big rig, and it looks like they've successfully taken both these folks into custody. Sam, I don't know if you're zooming in on that female suspect right there, but yeah, that'll be her there in the red shirt, being taken into custody by Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Again, this is a 187 or a homicide suspect. That's what we've been told. Also, potentially that this suspect was wanted for a 245, which is an assault on a deputy as well. There you can see the K9 unit here as well. Massive response from law enforcement. You could tell just from watching from Skyfox, they really wanted to get this guy. We heard Rick Dicker talking about how they were staying up on him. They never really went into tracking mode. Clearly, they wanted to get whoever these folks are, and successfully they've been able to do that now, guys.
Yeah, and they did not have to use that sheriff's K9, which we just saw go back into the vehicle, Bill. Talk to us, if you will, because it looks like a 7-Eleven is nearby. There's a gas station nearby. It looks like a grocery store. So there's, this is 7 o'clock, time a lot of people frequent, all those things. This is a busy area, it looks like.
It's incredibly busy, guy. It almost feels like it's like a neighborhood block party out here. Sam, if we can just kind of start maybe panning around a little bit. So we got the ending of the pursuit right behind us. To our left, we've got a gas station with a bunch of looky-loos over here. Police are trying to get some of the people out of the area. Sam, are we able to pan around behind us as well? Just behind, sorry, bear with us for a moment, guys. Live TV as we turn the camera. As we keep going to the left here, we got a neighborhood here. This is going to be the intersection of Hawthorne and I believe San Antonio, where you can see people from the neighborhood have come out here. And we've got multiple layers of crime tape set up here as police are trying to keep track of where everybody's coming, where everybody's going. People are parking all over the place trying to find out what happened here. And they're finally starting to clear some of the folks out from this gas station right here. But you can probably see a lot of folks out here live streaming, posting on social media. But it's more of a relaxed scene now with the officers at the where these suspects are being taken into custody now. I cannot see the male suspect from where I'm at. The last picture I saw from Skyfox that you guys were mentioning, it looked like he was potentially injured, laying face down on the ground. That female suspect in the red looks to be perfectly fine. It looks like, are they putting her in the vehicle right now? Can't exactly tell. We now have a fire engine pulling up on scene here. I'm not sure what I don't know if there's been some sort of an injury, but we got a fire engine pulling up
and
into the supermarket. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looked, Bill, and I don't know if you could see it from your perspective, when the male suspect left his vehicle, it appeared that his leg was injured. Which would make sense given where the crash happened. And I don't know if we can re-cue that video of the crash for people that may have missed it watching live, which was here it is. Okay, boom. Well, there's not a lot of lead up there. That's the crash right there. You see the driver there coming out of a gas station, a big rig, which is not very easy to get out of the way, and drives right into that big rig. That collision is what finally ended this pursuit and exploded the airbags inside the vehicle and may have led to a leg injury for that male suspect who was driving the vehicle, Marlon.
Right. So, Bill, we did see the fire truck pull up from our aerial shot from Skyfox earlier, and then we also saw the RA, the rescue ambulance, pull up right next to the big rig. I know you don't have eyes on the suspect, but we can assume that he's either in that police vehicle or one of those cruisers out there or being taken away by that ambulance that we saw pull up. And I was wondering where all those people suddenly came from, but you explained that there is a neighborhood right nearby.
Yeah, they kind of just came out of the woodwork. There's a supermarket right to the left of us, a neighborhood right behind us, a gas station right here to the left of us. So everybody, obviously heard all the sirens, the helicopters, and probably were watching some of the live streams going on of this pursuit, and all decided they wanted to come out and take a look at this here. But again, the female suspect appears to have been put into a police car. Don't see her anymore. Don't see the male suspect. But guys, pretty wild way for this one to end, running right into that semi-truck. And as you guys were mentioning, thank God it was that large of a truck. It's able to just absorb that impact and block them off. Wasn't able to go any further. And when you're chasing a potential homicide suspect, it's always elevated in terms of danger and horrible ways it could end. And thankfully, given the circumstances, it looks like things ended here peacefully for the most part, guys. And they're taking both these folks into custody.
All right, Bill. Well, we appreciate you getting there so quickly after that ending. A shout out to your photographer, Sam Dubin, for quick work there. Shout out to Rick Dickert and Christine Devine for their help on our coverage as well tonight. We will keep an eye on this, and if we get new information on that, we will go back to the scene. In the meantime, though, there is lots more news to get to as we officially welcome you to the Fox 11 News Special Report. I'm Alex Michaels.
And I'm Marla Tejas.
Let's start with some other news that is happening tonight as well, and it is really big news. California on track to finally fully reopen on June 15th.
We can confidently say by June 15th that we can start to open up as business as usual.